Hi there. I'm here today having a virtual cup of tea with the awesome Caroline De Kimpe, one of Australia's leading career and leadership coaches from New Horizon Coaching. Hi Caroline, how's it going? How are you?
All good. Thanks very much, Simon, for having me.
No problem at all. No problem. Caroline, I was wanting to get your thoughts on things at the moment. Obviously, you're as a career coach, you're always talking to executive level candidates looking to improve their career, looking for work. And I'd imagine that at the moment that things are pretty busy for you. Obviously, there's a lot of very high profile, a lot of people are at work at the moment. I wanted to find out from you really, what are the main things people are asking you about? What's the sort of one or two key questions that people are asking you most?
So the key questions that people are asking is like, how can I still have my resume stand out? Because they know it's like an increased competitive market. So I see two big differences. Like people that have been looking or actively looking in the job market from late last year, and they see this happening and they just like freaking out a little bit. And then you have people that have come on the job market because of their contract is finished, because restructures and so on. So you have a difference, and so they know that their resume needs to stand out. So, and they ask me to help them with that. Now, here's the thing, Simon, like, as you probably well know, a resume is just a tiny part in the whole process. So people make the mistake of really zooming in on just their resume, and so and not understanding the whole job search process. And I think like if they only make one little change on their resume, then that's going to be solving it, and they will get an interview. But that's not the truth, not the whole truth. And so, and the second common question is, how do I navigate this job market? Because it is a different job market, and most people haven't really experienced anything like it before, and they're unsure on how to operate in it. So those are the two questions that I see coming up over and over again.
Yeah, we've been in a candidate short market for a decade or so now, and so most people out there haven't experienced a candidate rich market. No. Do you find that people are struggling to sort of shift their mindsets to that new way of thinking?
Yeah, because they don't know. They most commonly what I see is, my resume is okay. I think it is okay. I get positive feedback from recruiters and my family members, and they don't question it. But a resume, for example, needs to make their first impression of the person to the company, and you need to capitalize that to sell yourself. And just like having an okay resume or an okay elevator pitch for yourself is not good enough anymore, and that's the mindset that they have to shift. Is like, in terms of their selling themselves, they have to up level their own skill set. It's not going to get them anywhere by just being okay and by just winging it, because what worked in the past definitely is not working at the moment. So you have to rethink your strategy, you have to rethink your positioning.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And I mean, on the subject of mindset, I mean, we obviously talk quite a lot, and one of the things that you've talked about a lot that I find really interesting is the mindset that you teach people around. They have to take into the job hunting process, and obviously that's more important now than ever. What sort of mindset do people need to be adopting when they're going out there into the market?
So first of all, if you see that your market is very competitive, and to be honest, at the moment it's for everyone very competitive, the mindset that you have to have is, if you are actively looking, that you have to be flexible yourself, and that you have to change your strategy that you had. So for example, if you ideally would look for your next role, you look for a step up, maybe 10, 20K more in salary, maybe more responsibilities, and so on. So your mindset, you need to shift in understanding that that might not be the only strategy that you have to have, and you also have to look at, okay, what can I do with my eyes closed, standing on my head, walking backwards, sorry. So what can I do that I've been doing for the last 10 years that is valuable to the company and still valuable to me and is going to tip me over? And that is a mindset shift in people coming from like, I'm entitled, I can get a new role, I can get this high-level job or next step role, to actually I have to reevaluate what I want. And a lot of people still struggle with that, to take a step backwards. They're actively looking, they want a job now, but they don't want to compromise, which I understand also in some perspective, but like in this market, you don't have a choice. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the thing that I always advise people is just, it sounds really obvious, but to keep positive and got that mindset of, it's just going to take longer than normal, but people will get there. And desperation or negativity or frustration really comes across very quickly. It's very off-putting for potential employers, for recruiters, for the process to work with people who are clearly very frustrated. And although you understand why they are, your preference is still going to be for people who are still positive. And positivity attracts positivity. So yeah, my advice on mindset is always just, take a deep breath when you speak to someone, be positive, don't let the frustration flow through. And it's difficult to do in the current market, I think, but
I think like we have to embrace the tools that we have, and sometimes use tools that we have been skeptical about before, like tools like meditation, breathing exercises, and so on. People never really embrace the power of them, but because in an uncertain market, you have a lot of anxiety, and it's so easy to become negative about everything that's been happening, because we are over consuming information about the coronavirus. So, and it's just like fear, like talking about to us constantly. So using tools like meditations and breathing exercise and even positive affirmations just like help you shift your mindset. And I find them very helpful, and I teach my clients, I say like meditation is one thing that you need to do to keep yourself grounded in this market.
I think meditation, exercise, and all those really obvious stuff but the actual knock-on impact on your whole attitude is particularly when you're looking for work and you want to stay positive, is awesome. What do you think?
I wanted to actually add to that. What's also important is that in today's market, people take rejection really personal and close off because of the fear-based mindset. So if you have a fear-based mindset and you get rejected, for example, you don't see any opportunity. So I know a lot of senior managers that I work with, they say like, one of my key strengths is I can think outside the box. Now, just that concept is very fluffy and general. But when it comes to themselves, then being in this situation, actually, they need to think outside the box. So they need to shift their mindset. And when they go from a fear-based mindset into a more mindset where they're looking for opportunities, they can see them what's right in front of them. A week ago, or 2 weeks ago, one of my clients that I was working with, he was in the running for a permanent permanent opportunity. Last interview, was going to have a meet and greet with the CEO, which was really going to be a casual meet and greet. And suddenly all of this happened and everything got pulled and cancelled. So he called me very defeated, really like, okay, what do I do, Caroline? Like, I just have this news, it's really bad. And he didn't see any future in that anymore. And I said to him, like, reach out to the hiring manager, propose to him a contract solution and just see what the response is going to be. So he did that, and he started the next week on Monday on a contract opportunity. Now, that was not ideal, but because he shifted his mindset from a fear-based and closed-off situation to a more like, okay, what else is possible? How can I think outside the box for this opportunity? He created something else, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So sort of thinking a bit more creatively,
Yeah.
putting in action some of those things that you say you're good at, actually demonstrate you're good at them as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
What are the some of the stuff that people can do? What are the sort of biggest mistakes that you're seeing people making out there in the market at the moment?
The biggest mistake is that they're not doing anything. So what I work on with my clients is like I work on the two-part strategy. So one is their short-term strategy, looking for a stopgap job. Like, yes, it's not going to be their ideal, so it could be a contract role that they just like take straight away. But then they stop working on their long-term goals, and there becomes a gap that over time becomes bigger and bigger. And that gap could be because they compromised in this time on their salary, and they're not working on a career strategy to close that gap, to actually move forward. How can they network, raise their profile, their visibility, and so on. So the biggest mistake is that I see that people are desperate and they just take something and they just bunker down and they hope for the best that things will blow over. But it's not going to blow over. Things are just going to be different. The world has changed forever from now on. So it's interesting if people just stick their head in the sand and do nothing. That is the worst and biggest mistake that I see. So you have to capitalize on this time for yourself to come out of this on the other end thriving.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that the biggest mistake I see people making at the moment is not empathizing with the person at the other end of the process as well. I mean, the hiring manager, the recruiter, and obviously let's think about how the recruiter feels in it, but you know, that person is also going through similar stresses, also working from home, is feeling bad because they've got a lot more applicants than they used to, and they're having to reject them and having to deal with a lot more confrontational conversation. So you know, empathise with the other person at the other end of the process as well. When you are applying for roles, I think again, it helps you keep positive. It helps you reduce your frustration a little bit with that person as well. So I think, you know, helps your process.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously that's sort of mistakes people make there in their career. What about low-hanging fruit that people can do? Someone watching this now is looking for work, wasn't expecting to be looking for work, highly skilled, qualified person, a little bit frustrated. What are the low-hanging fruit they can do today to help their job search?
Couple of things. First of all, if you haven't considered it before, then actually consider it now to do contracts. And a lot of people who I work with have never done contracts, so they don't know how to calculate your hourly rate. They don't know how it works, the system works. So I always say, like, look, talk to recruiters, make sure that it's a recruiter in your specialization, because you have, like, as you know, your generalists, your account managers. So the best person that can give you any advice on what your contract rate should be and how your market in that contract is going to be. If it's job rich, not that we have a job rich market at the moment, but which players are actually expanding or looking for extra contractors to come on board, is by talking to a specialist recruitment agent. So I think that is the first thing that I advise. And then the second thing that I advise is if you were in the market for a permanent job and you were scrolling down and you see, okay, there are a couple of roles on hold, it's like still like reach out to those companies if they're advertising direct, reach out to those hiring managers and pitch yourself to see if they're open for contractors, because as you know, Simon, contracting often comes from a different budget. So you have your permanent headcount and your contract budget. So this is also like, as a hiring manager, my whole world changed also. So it's not only that I need a resource, and I still most likely need it when all this is happening. But I have to work from home. I have to do homeschooling. I have to manage my team virtually. I have a company that's needing different things. So there's a lot of change going on. And the last thing that hiring managers are thinking about is solutions in all those areas. So when a candidate comes and offers a solution to say like, hey, I know that you have more IT requirement and everything that your business is doing is probably going to be digitalized, I can help with that on a contract basis. And so you open opportunities by offering a solution to the problem. But you have to make sure you create a right hook, because otherwise you burn your bridge there. So you have to make sure you do that appropriate. But looking at that, it's a low-hanging fruit in getting yourself to open a door that actually wasn't there before.
Yeah, I mean, there's still opportunities. I mean, permanent recruitment is a bit of a standstill. There's still stuff out there, but a lot less than there was. But the contract recruitment is still happening. There are still opportunities. Again, probably less, but I think that's going to, as things stabilize, will probably pick up again as well. So yeah, making yourself available for those opportunities is really good. Okay, well, what are your, I mean, sort of speculating a little bit there about the near future. What are your predictions on what's going to happen in the world out there over the sort of short and medium term?
Well, my
That's
glass
probably
ball.
$1 million question or $1 billion question, but yeah, what are your predictions?
To be honest, I find that we are in a fascinating time in terms of the innovation that's happening. And I say to my clients, it's not an innovation by choice, it's an innovation by necessity. So companies, they have no choice than to do certain digital transformations. And so you see whole industries that used to be offline, taking their business online. And the concept and the time frame that they're doing it is phenomenal. And where they normally would have been so much resistance, people don't have a choice to complain. They're glad to still be at work and still have some normality in this chaos. So my prediction is that yes, there is now a phase, like it could be for the next couple of weeks, that there is going to be like settling in to the new normal or the temporary normal, because I think like things will change again afterwards. But so temporary normal, people will settle in, and resource requirements will be actually like on top of the list, because companies will need to transform, companies will need to innovate, and that has so much implications on how are they communicating that to the external, how is their infrastructure geared on that, how is their processes and systems set up for that. So there is going to be a massive opportunity there for people to capitalize on that. When that is coming, I don't know, but I know for sure that it is coming.
Soon, hopefully.
Yeah, so what do you think?
Yeah, so I think that there's going to be a real shift in the market. I think smaller players or it's going to change the landscape significantly. Companies that would have struggled against incumbents will now seize market share if they can innovate quicker. It's going to change the way that we shop. It's going to change the way we work. And as you say, all of that brings opportunity, and companies that had embraced that and act quickly will thrive, and those that don't embrace it and resist it and sit around waiting for things to turn back to how they were will decline. And so I think it's going to be a really interesting time for a lot of reasons, but from a business perspective, on which players come out of this ahead and which players come out of this behind. Yeah. And I think people who can get out there and pick the right company to work for and have the right sort of skills around innovation and helping these companies get to this next stage will succeed, I think. But I think we've all got to be ready for it. I mean, I've spoken to candidates over the last few weeks when I talk about them about roles and say, well, if you start a new role, you've got to be ready to work from home, and they haven't got decent internet connections, they haven't got laptops, And you think you've got to be ready for this. The basics have got to be there. You've got to be ready to say, look, give me this role. I'm ready to go. You've got to be drawing out of your experience the relevant skills that you have, which may be different to the ones that you've got on your old CV. You're drawing those projects you've worked on in the past that are more relevant to the current times. And I think presenting yourself ready for this new world, you're ready to take it on and help these companies take it on.
Exactly. You're so spot on. It's like companies need to embrace it, and the ones who don't embrace it, they just will fail and they won't survive what's going on. And candidates are just the same. Candidates need to be agile, and they need to pivot the way they position and profile themselves to actually see other opportunities in the market.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
I think I've heard the word pivot more in the last week than I've heard it ever in my entire life.
I love it.
Awesome. All right, well, that's awesome, Caroline. Thank you very much for having a virtual cuppa with me and discussing your thoughts on the current market. Really good to hear some positive takes on it, and I'm sure people watching will be very excited to hear your thoughts.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
Thanks very much, Simon.